no longer want to support you, so why would I want to support you? If you would answer these questions for me, I would really appreciate it and give you the opportunity. There's, your own vice president doesn't want to support you now.
Thank you, Ramiro.
So the people that don't support a very small portion, we have a tremendous, about 97% of the people in the administration support me. But because it's me, somebody doesn't support, they get a little publicity. The vice president, I disagree with him on what he did. I totally disagreed with him on what he did. Very importantly, you had hundreds of thousands of people come to Washington. They didn't come because of me. They came because of the election. They thought the election was a rigged election, and that's why they came. Some of those people went down to the Capitol. I said peacefully and patriotically, nothing done wrong at all, nothing done wrong. And action was taken, strong action. Ashley Babbitt was killed. Nobody was killed. There were no guns down there. We didn't have guns. The others had guns, but we didn't have guns.
We didn't have guns. In case it wasn't clear, the we he is there referring to is the insurrectionists and him. The, quote, others that he refers to with guns are the police officers who defended the United States Capitol that day, and Mike Pence, and all the Republican members of the House and the Senate. So now, 19 days ago, Donald Trump is saying out loud what has been investigated through a congressional probe and the Department of Justice. A lot of that revealed in the body of evidence developed by those investigators, that the violent mob that stormed the U.S. Capitol was part of Trump's own plan to overturn his defeat on January 6th. And that mob was indeed armed. They did have guns. We had guns, Donald. And he knew that before he sent them to the Capitol. Here's Cassidy Hutchinson.
So, Ms. Hutchinson, is it your understanding that Mr. Ornato told the president about weapons at the rally on the morning of January 6th?
That's what Mr. Ornato relayed to me. But when we were in the offstage announce tent, I was part of a conversation. I was in the vicinity of a conversation where I overheard the president say something to the effect of, I don't effing care that they have weapons. They're not here to hurt me. Take the effing mags away. Let my people in. They can march to the Capitol from here. Let the people in. Take the effing mags away.
It was a mystery for a while, right? How did he know that? They're not here to hurt me. Quote, let my people in. Now we know. We didn't have guns, he says. 19 days to Election Day, and Trump is telling voters the people who attacked the Capitol were part of a we. They were on his side, and he is on theirs still. It brings us to another stunning development today. A new book by Associated Press Washington bureau chief Michael Tackett reveals this, quote, Mitch McConnell said after the 2020 election that then President Donald Trump was, quote, stupid, as well as being ill-tempered, a, quote, despicable human being, and a, quote, narcissist. And he said all that. That's what Mitch McConnell lettered Donald Trump before the insurrection. More from the AP. Privately, McConnell said in his oral history that, quote, it's not just the Democrats who are counting the days until Trump left office, and that Trump's behavior only underscores the good judgment of the American people. They've had just enough of the misrepresentations, the outright lies, almost on a daily basis. And they fired him. And for a narcissist like him, McConnell continued, that's been really hard to take. And so his behavior since the election has been even worse, by far, than it was before, because he has no filter now at all. Now, before those Georgia runoffs, McConnell said Trump is, quote, stupid as well as being ill-tempered and can't even figure out where his own best interests lie. Like we said, in a normal world, that would be a thunderclap, enough to completely derail a political campaign, a candidate leading a political party. So when we say that's not what it is anymore, this is an example that proves that out. An admission that you're on the side of the violent extremists who attacked the U.S. Capitol, and the #1 Republican in the Senate calling you, quote, stupid, quote, despicable, and, quote, a narcissist. All that happened in the last 24 hours. Should be devastating, again, to a politician, someone seeking to run the government. But we live in a world where the GOP has splintered in two, rather violently. On one side, a robust authoritarian movement that demands you toss your views aside or become an outcast. People like Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, Case in point, Mitch McConnell now supports the man he described, in his own words, in something called a personal oral history as stupid and despicable. His words on a tape recording he made and shared with a reporter. And on the other side, a small but growing group of disaffected Republicans and independent-minded voters. That split, particularly when it applies to January 6th and Donald Trump's disdain for the hallmarks of democracy, has given Vice President Kamala Harris an unprecedented opportunity and opening that she is seizing on with Republicans and independents. In just a few minutes, Vice President Kamala Harris will be making remarks at her second stop in Wisconsin today. She'll be joined by one of her most high-profile surrogates, Mark Cuban, a billionaire businessman, part owner of the Mavericks, whose reputation in the business world completely eclipses the ex-host of the reality show The Apprentice. Like many of the independents and Republicans the Harris campaign is courting, Cuban once supported Donald Trump, only to break with him, as he says, quote, once I got to know him. We'll bring you the vice president's remarks. We'll also bring you Mark Cuban later in the broadcast. But this is where we start today with some of our favorite experts and friends. MSNBC political analyst Tim Miller's here. He's the former RNC spokesman, now the host of the Bulwark podcast. With me at the table, co-host of MSNBC's The Weekend, Alicia Menendez is back. Plus, Democratic strategist and professor at Columbia University, MSNBC political analyst Basil Smykel's here. About that town hall. Take me through it.
Well, you know, it's interesting because they have translators for people who want to watch it in Spanish, people who want to watch it in English. You don't need a translator. You can just watch the body language in order to see how it was going. And you played some of the sound from that undecided voter, Ramiro. They interviewed him after, and they said, you were undecided coming into this. Have you made up your mind? And he said, well, I know I'm not voting for Donald Trump.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And so therein, you have a sense of how this all went. There's the 1/6 of it all, which, as you said, is incredibly disturbing. I also thought it was really interesting. You got 3 different questions on immigration. There was a really beautiful moment where someone said, I am an agriculture worker. I've worked in this country most of my life. Tell me how your plan to deport immigrants is going to affect agriculture in this country. There was another question.
What did he say?
He did not have an answer. And that was sort of the incredible thing, which is no matter what the question was, he self-aggrandizes. He makes claim to victory he did not have. He then villainizes, demonizes immigrants, lies about their criminality, and offers no real solution forward. And in the process, reveals that he does not understand how any of this works, which is kind of amazing. To choose an issue like immigration, make it the heartbeat of your campaign, and then over the course of an hour reveal that you don't understand the mechanics of it at all, which should be of comfort to people like me, if not for the fact that Stephen Miller does understand how it works. Yeah. And part of the plan here is for Donald Trump to come to power and then dole out these portfolios to ideologues who do understand how the government works and who could execute the plans that he has now sold.
Tim Miller, and then there's the Mitch McConnell of it all. I want to try to keep both these stories in front of us because together, I think they illustrate how far from acceptable Donald Trump is to the Republican coalition that once was, right? So you want to articulate in the final 19 days how extreme your opponent is and how centrist and bipartisan your coalition really is. These stories are devastating blows. I mean, to now openly with the cameras rolling, this wasn't a gotcha. Donald Trump wasn't caught on the bus yucking it up with somebody. Donald Trump was at a televised town hall and refers to the insurrectionists as we.
Yeah, it's the second time. At least. I'm sure he's done it other times, but he did it during the debate. He caught himself during the debate and changed to this group of people. So like, oh, maybe it's a slip. I mean, we know it's not a slip, but, you know, maybe he has plausible deniability that it's a slip. But in that town hall, it's very clear. He refers to the rioters as we and then the they as the Capitol Police. And I'm glad that you tied these two stories together because it shows the nihilism of Mitch McConnell, that he is still on board with Donald Trump after all that he's called him, being morally responsible for that day, being a despicable human being, being stupid. And these aren't minor critiques, right? These go to the core of the man. and yet he's still for him because it's on the team, because he's on the team. That's what he said today in his statement. But I think that the big takeaway, though, is if you're a voter out there, if you're one of those Nikki Haley voters, or if you're watching and you have one of those Nikki Haley voters in your life, and they see themselves as like a Mitch McConnell, Nikki Haley Republican that believes that America has a strong role in the world and that maybe government should be a little bit smaller and that they have respect for character, like Donald Trump is telling those voters that they are the they, that they are not on his team, that the we is the people that are charging the Capitol, that if you are a person of conservative temperament that was on the side of the Capitol Police that day because you believe in the rule of law, because you believe in the Constitution, then he sees you as the enemy, as part of that enemy within that he talks about, right? Like that's how Donald Trump sees the world. And I think that if that can just break through, there's the event yesterday that you mentioned with Kamala Harris and Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger and others. If that can break through to some of those voters, that you might think that you're part of the Republican team because you've been on part of the Republican team, but if you just listen to Donald Trump's own words, he doesn't consider you part of it. Like if you believe that the president should be defending the Capitol Police and the Capitol, he sees you as part of the enemy standing between him and a Donald Trump autocracy. And hopefully, God willing, with the help of Liz Cheney and the other, too small number of brave people who have spoken out, like that can get through to that core demo, that it's a small but decisive demo that is going to be very critical in a couple weeks.
And can I just do one more thing? I mean, it's also not true that the insurrectionists, didn't have guns. I mean, here's the radio traffic. Can I just play this? This is what they had.
Yeah.
There's an individual who's in a tree. He's going to be a white male, about 6 feet tall, thin build, brown cowboy boots. He's got blue jeans and a blue jean jacket, and underneath the blue jean jacket, the complainant saw stock with AR-15. He's going to be with a group of individuals, about five to eight other individuals. Two of the individuals in that group at the base of the tree near the porta potties were wearing green fatigues, green olive drab style fatigues, about 5'8", 5'9", skinny white males, brown cowboy boots. They had Glock style pistols in their waistband.
8736 with the message that subject weapon on his right hip. After that, he's in the tree.
Motor 1, make sure PPD knows they have an elevated threat in the tree south side of Constitution Avenue. Look for the Don't Tread on Me flag, American flag face mask, cowboy boots, weapon on the right side hip.
I got 3 men walking down the street in fatigue while carrying AR-15. Copy at 14th and Independence.
So PPD, I believe, is Presidential Protective Detail. Make sure the people that Trump wanted to take him to the Capitol know about Glock-style pistols, an AR-15. He's going to be with a group of individuals. And we know that Trump knows. We know this message got to Trump because he wants them in anyway with their weapons. Quote, they're not here to hurt me, Donald Trump on that day. So even in aligning himself with the we, he's lying about the weapons.
Yeah, he's always lying, right? Yeah, that is true. To me, like the most politically salient point is that Donald Trump still considers himself, even today, on the side of the insurrectionists against the Capitol Police defending the Capitol. But yeah, no, he's lying. They